Hi guys, Khalid from Cricket Fanatics magazine here, and I'm here with EWN Sports Editor Adrian. So, you know about the segment that I tried to start during this test series where I am trying to learn from other experienced journalists. So I thought this having conversation is probably the best way to do it. So, Adrian, let's just start with your journey, how you got into journalism and eventually editor of EWN Sport.
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
Wow.
I've been in the game for a bit. I started off in Durban as an intern and as a journalist, a music journalist, funnily enough.
Wow.
And then made the move to Johannesburg. Worked there for 16 years, mostly in newspapers, and then gradually progressed to online because that's the way the world is moving. I've been a sports writer for almost 15 years now. Started in 2004, 2005. Interesting enough, the England series was my first cricket test series that I covered, which was quite memorable, obviously. England had a great team. They brought in Hogarth, Andrew Flintoff, Andrew Strauss, some really greats of English cricket. And the test that I covered was the fourth test at the Wanderers between England and South Africa. Andrew Strauss got 147. Matthew Hogarth took 12 wickets in that match. Graeme Smith got concussed during a pre-game warm-up, and he clashed with Ray Jennings, who was the coach. He was a bit concussed, so he only managed to bat later on in the day to try and save the test match. But ultimately, England won out, I think, by 77 runs that day. But memorable one for me.
So you said that you started in, obviously, music journalism. With regards to building experience, so from my experience of journalism as a young journalist coming into the system, I knew that experience is everything. Like, you have to do your hard yards and first learn how everything works before you can start being actually before you can be actually credited for what you are doing and be noticed for what you're doing. So for you, how much is similar between the two fields?
Look, journalism is journalism, and it doesn't matter what kind of your beat is. I think the basic principles of journalism will always apply. So you've got to do your homework, you've got to do your research, make those contacts, do those interviews. There's no kind of shortcuts to it. So my advice to young journalists is doesn't matter what you're covering, stick to the basics, do the hard yards, do the research, and work hard, really. There's no kind of perfect recipe. Everyone has their own journey. I started off as a sub-editor, to be quite honest, before I actually got into the writing part of it, and it actually helped me because knowing how writers write and what mistakes they make, I kind of learned from them and became a better writer when I eventually focused my attention on writing.
So being a Cricket Fanatics channel and about cricket exactly, I want to dive into your mind a bit about some of the top moments maybe that you've covered as a cricket journalist.
Look, as I said, the English test was my first one. Then I swiftly moved on to the Proteas touring Australia. I covered the Australia tour in 2005 in December. Traveled around Australia for about 2 months. This is where South Africa lost just about every ODI. They lost the test series against Australia. So I mean, it was a tough one for the boys. Even as good a team as they were, Jacques Callis, Graeme Smith, Herschel Gibbs, Mark Boucher, all the guys who are in management now. They were players then, and they had a rough tour. And Graeme was still a young captain. I think he was 24 or 25 at the time, still learning his own game, learning how to be a captain. And look at where he is now, director of cricket.
So, for you, you obviously covered him when he was a young captain, like you said. Do you think that his capabilities as a young captain and what made him so special as a player, and do you think that obviously he's the right appointment for director of cricket?
I think so. I think he's the best option we have, to be quite honest. Yes, questions will be asked around his management skills and business skills because that's part of the requirement. But in terms of a leader, I don't think we could do a lot better. Graeme is a natural leader. He wants to lead. He wants that pressure on him, and he's always wanted that throughout his career. So he chose captaincy very early. He knew what he wanted to do as a leader, and he leads by example, which is always good to see. And in the critical moments over his career, you'll see that he stood up when it mattered, and I think that's the kind of person we need in leadership in Cricket South Africa now, is someone to take on that responsibility and say, hey, I'm going to lead us to a kind of a better dawn, as it were, for South African cricket.
And this lastly, I want to know, what is your top moment of the decade? Obviously we're going into 2020, and I just want to know, top moment.
It's a tough one. It's look, obviously South Africa getting to #1 in the world in the test in 2012, I think it was. That was big for them. Yeah, there've been many. I mean, to me, a lot of the great Proteas moments came just further in the decade ago. You know, when it was the 4-3-8 game, which I was a part of as well, which I reported on. To see South Africans unite around that team was incredible. To be in that stadium and to watch it shake, literally shake when Boucher hit those winning runs was an amazing feeling. It made worldwide news. So yes, Proteas have given us a lot of good moments over the past. I would say the last 10 years hasn't been so great. We've lost many crucial World Cup knockout matches. We've lost Test series. We've struggled, to be quite honest. But look, the Proteas will always be the Proteas. They'll find their way back. I think we've just got to be patient with them in this transition phase that they're going through. Yeah.
Cool. So just punch your social media platforms and where people can follow you.
You can follow me on Adrian Ephraim, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook if you want to as well. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man. Cool. That was amazing.